Okay, so this week over on my Substack, I shared something that felt really vulnerable, and it was more honest than I was planning to be about a pattern I caught myself in around how I'd been holding or irresponsible with my own dreams and what that was actually protecting me from. And to be totally real with you, I had a bit of a vulnerability hangover after I hit publish. My parts had a lot to say, like, what if it's only you? What if nobody else relates to this and you're just out there? Maybe you should go soften some of that. You said some pretty bold things. Nobody's gonna think you're credible. And, I said some bold things in that piece, but here is what I know after years of work and being in the room with women who are vulnerable. When there's something that is alive for someone and they need to say something, she's never the only one, right? It's if it's happening for one woman, it's happening for somebody else. And there is a reason that she needs to say it that day in that particular way. So instead of listening to these parts of me that were telling me to tone it down, what I'm doing is the opposite. I'm actually going to go deeper because it is worth connecting with this idea emotionally. And that's what the Substack piece is for. And I'll link it below so you can go read it. But it's also worth understanding it objectively, like clearly, what was actually going on here. Because when you can see a pattern for what it is, you can realize there is nothing wrong with you and there are solutions. So that's what I want to give you today. The lens, the IFS lens underneath the story, same story, different floor. Okay. And real quick, in case we haven't met, I am Andrea. I am a high capacity coach for ambitious women who give a shit. And I use IFS or parts work, and I help women build self trust and capacity to hold their next big thing. And that's what this whole channel is about. So if that's you, please hit subscribe and stick around. So if you've been manifesting and journaling and trusting the timing and pulling your oracle cards and the thing you really want still hasn't moved, I want to show you what's happening underneath that. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's your vibration. And honestly, they're not totally wrong, but they are pointing at the wrong door. Because here's the thing, if you have parts of you that are scared, parts that are hiding, parts that were exiled a long time ago, and they're taking up all of this room in your subconscious, in your nervous system, that's where you're vibrating from. That's the real frequency. It's not the affirmations you said in the mirror, it is the fear running quietly underneath it. So you can do all of the alignment practices in the world, but if those parts are still running in the background, you're not an energetic match for the thing that you want. You can't be. You're broadcasting from the basement. So this is a parts problem. And specifically, it's a part of you that got a promotion that you didn't sign off on. Okay, so this is what I mean. So quick grounding before for anybody who might be new here. When I say parts, here is the simplest way that I can explain it. If you think about the last time you were invited to a party, I guarantee that a part of you wanted to go and a part of you wanted to stay home. And then underneath those two, there was a part that was scrambling to sort out the babysitter, a part that felt guilty, a part worried about who you'd run into, a part that was genuinely stressed about what kind of wine to bring. Those are all parts, each one with its own thoughts, feelings, motivations, and they take up way more mental real estate than we give them credit for. Most of us think that's just having mixed feelings, but it goes so much deeper than that. And it's more organized than that. And once you can see it, you can't unsee it. So I've got, I don't know, 30 something videos on this channel that go deep on parts work. So if this is new for you and you want the full framework, I'll point you there. But today I want to introduce you to two specific parts you may not have met by name before. So the first one a lot of you probably know intimately. I call her the part that hustles. She is the one who's tried so hard for so long. She has sought excellence, success. She's over delivered. She is ambitious. She's run on more is more, busier is better, productivity. She's inside a whole system that was happy to take everything she had and then ask her what else she's got. And she is not the villain. She learned somewhere early on that worth was something that you earned, that belonging came from being useful, that we must be productive. And so she went to work and she kept you safe the only way she knew how, by making sure you were never enough and she kept moving the goalpost. And the problem with that is her strategy has a ceiling. And that ceiling has a name that you are likely familiar with: burnout. And here's what burnout actually is, because it's not just too much on the to-do list. Burnout is a capacity issue. It's what happens when we genuinely don't have the space emotionally, mentally, energetically, in our nervous system to hold what we're holding. And underneath that, this is what happens when our manager parts are making our decisions instead of self energy. There's nobody home at center, just parts driving and striving with no one at the wheel. So burnout isn't the hustler failing. Burnout is this hustler strategy running all the way to its edge and running the tank dry because there was never enough capacity underneath to sustain it. But here is where most people go wrong, right? That in itself is so hard. It's so hard to go through that. It's so hard to experience that. It's so hard to pick up the pieces from that. And then we judge her, right? We get so afraid of the hustle because that's where we got burned before, that we turn on this part that has been a loyal little soldier. We make her the villain. We're like, no, I am done with her. I want to be soft now. I want to go with the flow. And that vow, that never again, that's not neutral. That is judgment, right? And here's the law of the inner world: nothing shifts if there's a judger in the room. Nothing. You cannot heal a part you're busy being at war with. So already, before we even get to what happens next, notice there isn't just a part that is hustling. There is the hustler part and a part that is judging the hustler. And they're both live, same time. It's never just these two things. There's a whole room of parts reacting and responding to one another. So the very first move before any of the deeper stuff is appreciation. Like, really, really, this part worked for you. She kept you safe the best way she knew how. She got you here. Can we let her be a little tired and a lot appreciated, and instead of exiling her ourselves? Because watch what happens when we don't, right? When we judge the hustler, instead of appreciating her and everything that she's done and give her like honest time to rest, we don't resolve anything. We just go looking for a different manager inside, right? Because that's what manager parts are. So let's name this properly. In internal family systems, in parts work, managers are the group of collective parts that are the proactive ones. They are the planners, they're the problem solvers, they are the ones getting ahead, preventing danger. Their whole job is to make sure we never get anywhere near that old pain again. So they run on a quiet urgency. Don't let anything bad happen ever again. Get ahead of it. Hypervigilant. Never again. So hustling is a manager part. She got ahead of rejection by being excellent. And so we burn out. We judge her. We vow never again. And the job doesn't close. The urgency is still there. The exile, the tender one she was protecting, is still there, unhealed. which means burnout actually doesn't fire the manager, it hires a new one, right? Same job, get ahead of the pain, don't let it happen again. New strategy. Oh, we love this new hire. We call her the go with the flow part, right? The surrenderer. We crave her. We yearn for her. She is everything the hustler wasn't. She is calm. She is cool. She's kind of sexy, honestly, right? She trusts the timeline. She's got, and I say this with total love because I literally have crystals on my desk. She's got crystals on her desk. Right? I have clients say this to me all the time. I just want to go with the flow. And I always get curious because so often, not always, but often, that sentence is the judgment of the hustler wearing a disguise. It's not actually flow. It's, I am so afraid of how hard I push before that I'm going to repress every feeling and motivation that looks like anything like wanting. It's not surrender, it's suppression in a really cute, flowy outfit. So, because her strategy isn't overdoing anymore, her strategy is under asking. Let's just see what happens. Trust the universe. What's meant for you won't miss you. Just stay ready. Wait well. Align your energy and it will come. Different outfit, same job description. She's not rejected. She's not humiliated. She's never depleted again. Right? The hustler protected you by doing everything. This surrender part protects you from never fully reaching for the thing that you want. Both of them are managing the exact same fear. So this one's a lot harder to catch than the part that hustles. Because when you're grinding yourself into the ground, at some point your body sends the invoice, right? You know something is wrong. You are exhausted. You have flare-ups. Your gut is off. Like there's all kinds of telltale signs, right? But the surrenderer, her whole strategy looks like growth. It sounds like wisdom. It quotes actual ancient truth. She photographs beautifully because she borrows the language of healing. Questioning her feels like you're going backward. It's like, what? You want me to hustle again? No, no, I don't. That's the trap. The belief that there are only two options, grind or surrender, push or wait, right? And usually, when we only see two options available, there is at least a third that we cannot see yet. Both of those parts are managers, both of them are protecting. So there's a third thing. A third thing that not enough people are talking about. And so before I get to that third thing, let me help you spot which manager is running here because the surrender is stealthy. Here's what it looked like for me. Be honest with yourself as I go. Card pulling instead of making a call. Right? Perfecting the email instead of getting in the room where the actual opportunity was. Manifesting money instead of making a budget. Consuming spiritual content as a substitute for one vulnerable, scary move. Saying, I'm waiting for it to feel aligned about a decision that wasn't unaligned, it was just scary AF. And rest that wasn't really rest, it was avoidance with a glass of wine. So if you just felt a little seen, same, like genuinely same, drop the one that got you in the comments because I promise you're not the only one here and I will read them. But here's the third thing. Why it's not a better strategy. It's not a smarter manager. You don't need a third part to come in and run a better system. We have to go deeper. And we go to the exile. The exile is the part that both of these managers have been working overtime to protect. Exiles are the parts in our system that we had to suppress at some point because when they showed up, we weren't resourced enough to hold them. The people around us weren't resourced enough to hold them. We didn't have support. So a big emotion, a big burden, humiliation, fear, grief, terror, a moment of being ostracized, anger that wasn't welcome, got sent away, exiled, probably for a very good reason at the time. And so for many of the women that I work with, the exile underneath all of this is the one who wanted something out loud and got hurt for it. The one who raised her hand and was laughed at. The one who was excited and got called too much. Who reached for something and missed in front of people and decided somewhere in her body, I will never do that again. Wanting is dangerous. I will never let myself be caught wanting like that again. Both managers protecting her. The one that hustles said, we're excellent enough so no one can reject us. But the surrenderer says, like, if we never fully reach, we can never be caught wanting. We can never fail. And so they keep running, keep trading off, keep switching shifts until somebody finally turns around and meets the part they've been guarding. Not to manage her, not to override her, to not to love and light her, meet her. That's the real work. And it's what I do with my clients. It's what I do with my own system. When that exile finally feels seen, not analyzed, not fixed, seen. Managers get to stand down. They don't have to work hard anymore because the thing they were terrified of isn't unprotected anymore. Okay? What she's protected by now is genuine calm, a genuine capacity to go with the flow, actual perspective, actual ease, actual trust. And that comes from self energy. It cannot come from a part. Right? But the difference is, and this is everything, the counterfeit version comes from a manager, a part protecting you from wanting, dressed up as peace. The real version comes from self. Same words, going with the flow, totally different come from. Right? One part is managing your fear. The other is you, grown woman at the center, genuinely at ease because there is nothing that needs protecting in this moment. One is a contraction disguised as openness. The other is actual openness because she knows she has her own back. And you can feel the difference in your body once you know how to look. The counterfeit has a little grip to it, a little bracing. And self-energy is just settled. And that settled place has a name. Self-energy. You can call it your true self. You can call it, most people who connect with it just say, oh, that's just me. Calm, curious, compassionate, connected. It is the thing both managers have been standing in front of this whole time. So this is what we want to know. You're like, how do we get there? How do we build capacity to stand in that settled place instead of getting hijacked by manager parts? We build it by working with your parts. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. When you work with a part so that it actually feels met and it can finally relax, and every part that relaxes, it gives you a little bit more room, a little bit more capacity, because it's no longer down in the basement taking up space, running the frequency or driving the car. And here is the wild part. Self is infinite. It has infinite capacity. It is direct line to source. So when parts are disarmed, when they're not gripping and protecting and bracing, what's underneath is a version of you with room to hold it all. The dream, the fear, the hard conversation, the big life. There was never a capacity problem at your core. There was parts taking up all the room problem. And I'm going to say this again in another way because this is critical. Working with your parts is not analyzing them. It is not simply understanding them. It's not knowing about them. It's not knowing how to name them or trace them back or explain exactly, why you do what you do, right? I work with the most self-aware women on the planet, and self-awareness alone has never once set them free. And same for me. You can have the most detailed map of your inner world and still be completely stuck. Working with a part means sitting with it, means feeling it. It means actively accepting it, paying real attention. The kind you'd give a scared kid, not the kind you'd give a spreadsheet. It happens in the body, not in the head. And honestly, and this is hard to do alone, unblending from a part, unburdening it, that is genuinely difficult to do by yourself, because a part that needs to be witnessed is often the very part that's activated. So sometimes you need support, someone who has enough self energy to hold the room while yours comes online. And there is no shame in that. That is not a failure of self-sufficiency. That is how humans have healed for centuries in relationship. Okay, so that's when this third option becomes available, the one that is not the grind and that isn't this go with the flow surrender part. And I call it active responsibility, doing what it takes, not more than what it takes, right? Not over responsibility, not white knuckling, not hustling, just actually reaching, making the call, getting in the room, wanting out loud, standing in the zone of productive discomfort without a guarantee that it's going to work out. And you can only stand there, regulated, present, still you, when you have built the capacity to, when the exiles' needs have been met and the managers trust you. So I wrote a whole essay over on Substack about my personal experience with this recently. It is vulnerable. It includes this reframe that I love, but it's really about stewarding a dream the way you'd hold an injured baby bird before it can fly. So I'll link it below. Go read it after this. Let me know what you think. But I'll leave you with this. You are not lazy. You are not too much. Your system hired the managers it needed to keep you safe, to keep you productive, and they've been doing an excellent job. A hard one for a long time, and they can retire now. Not because you fought them off, but because you finally went underneath and met the ones they've been protecting all along. So the dream isn't waiting for the universe or someday. It's waiting in your hands. In your hands are the universe at work. So if you are curious to start meeting those parts for yourself, I have a free private audio series called Nothing is Wrong with You. That's the doorway. It's linked below. The full written essay is down there too. And if you are already nodding like, yep, it is time, there is a link to apply to work with me. And of course, please subscribe if you want more of this. I've got a whole library of parts work waiting for you. See you next time.